On November 3, 1940, the cornerstone of a new stadium was laid. The mayor of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, a textile manufacturing city in the smallest state in the U.S., had been pushing for a stadium to make its way to the city for a couple years. Mayor Thomas P. McCoy saw his dream finally come true when Pawtucket Stadium was completed 2 years later in 1942. McCoy did not see, however, his other goal, which was to bring semi-professional sports to Pawtucket. He died in 1945, and the stadium was renamed in his honor when Pawtucket found its first tenants in 1946. The first team to call McCoy Stadium home were the Pawtucket Slaters, a minor league baseball team. A game of baseball is 9 innings. Each team has 9 chances to score as many runs as possible and hold the opposing team to as few runs as possible. It's pretty simple. And the people think about baseball, there's no minimum time and there's no maximum time. The games will last as short or as long as the game goes on. On September 28, 1919, the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Phillies played a full 9-inning game of baseball that lasted only 51 minutes, the shortest game of professional baseball ever. It is a record that stands to this very day and will likely never be broken. On April 17th of this year, 2024, the Boston Red Sox played one of the shortest games of the 21st century when they beat the Cleveland Guardians 2-0 in only 1 hour and 49 minutes. The Red Sox have had a hand in another game in baseball history notable for its length, but this game did not take place in Boston, or Major League Baseball for that matter. In 1969, the Boston Red Sox had one of their minor league affiliates, the Pittsfield Red Sox of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, play 3 games at McCoy Stadium. The attendance was solid, and after the 1969 season, the Pittsfield Red Sox packed their bags and traveled down to Pawtucket, Rhode Island to become the Pawtucket Red Sox. Lovingly known by their fans as the Paw Sox, the Pawtucket Red Sox brought professional sports to the nation's smallest state in a way that has hardly ever been done before or since. Fans too far from Boston to see the Red Sox had their own local alternative that brought in some of the biggest names in baseball history to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Wade Boggs, Jim Rice, and Carlton Fisk are all former Paw Sox players who went on to be enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, with countless other big names passing through before getting their own call-ups to the majors. And they passed through here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The Paw Sox parent club, the Boston Red Sox, notoriously endured one of baseball's most painful stretches when they failed to win a World Series from 1918 to 2004. But it was in the midst of Boston's baseball struggles that Pawtucket became known for something that no one could have ever predicted. April 18th, 1981, 8:25 p.m., McCoy Stadium, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. A game between the Paw Sox and Rochester Red Wings was delayed for 30 minutes. The 1,740 fans in McCoy's 5,746 seats were probably wondering how much that delay would affect their commutes home that night, but they had no idea what they were truly in for. The first 6 innings were scoreless, with the Red Wings landing the first blow, scoring 1 run in the top of the 7th inning. The game was nearly over before the Paw Sox clawed back, scoring the tying run in the bottom of the 9th, but failing to win the game. Baseball does not have ties, though, and the game was rewarded with extra innings, a concept where after 9 innings, an extra inning is played each time the game is tied until finally a winner is crowned. The score was tied at 1 apiece after 9 innings, and so would remain after the 10th inning, 11th inning, 12th, 13th. An already chilly New England spring night got even colder. As the temperature continued to drop, players took their wooden bats and burned them in the trash cans for heat. The 14th inning, 15th, 16th, 17th. The stands gradually empty out as the late night gets later and the cold winds get colder. 18th, 19th, 20th. And then it finally happened. After over 2 full games worth of baseball, the Red Wings scored again in the top of the 21st inning. At long last, Rochester was up 2-1. And the game could finally get laid to rest. But star Paw Sox player Wade Boggs would not let his team's hard work be for nothing, as he drove in a run in the bottom of the 21st inning. Pawtucket failed to score again, however, so the teams went on to the 22nd inning, and then the 23rd, and then the 24th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th. The hours painstakingly ticked away, and the seemingly Sisyphean stalemate continued. 29th, 30th, 31st. As the 32nd inning finally came to an excruciating close, the clocks read 4:07 a.m. After 7 hours and 42 minutes of baseball, the game was finally called to a temporary standstill. Out of mercy, it was agreed that the teams could leave and go home, as the game had begun to spill into Easter morning and would be picked up again and resumed at a later date. 1,740 fans sat in their seats that night, and 19 were present at the time of the game's postponement. At some point during the near 8 hours of baseball, 1,721 fans decided that they had had enough and left McCoy Stadium. But those 19 fans did not leave. Maybe they knew they were witnessing something special, fell asleep, or were too stubborn to give up, or just too in love with baseball. But those 19 people stayed through the cold, windy night to watch a 32-inning postponement. The players left McCoy Stadium, returning to their homes, their warm shelters and families, attending church early on Easter morning, relieved to have finally escaped. But only for the time being. The Paw Sox relief pitcher Luis Aponte told his wife he would be home by 3 a.m. that night, and had to wait for the Monday morning papers to come out to prove his alibi, as they had played through the printing of the Sunday papers. The game would not resume until the Red Wings were back in Pawtucket, which wouldn't be until June 23rd. The game picked up in the top of the 33rd inning in front of a sellout Pawtucket crowd, where the Red Wings were once again held scoreless. But in the bottom of the 33rd, just 18 minutes into the continuation, Pawtucket first baseman Dave Koza knocked a single to left field to score the game-winning run. After 33 innings in exactly 8 hours of baseball, the longest game had finally reached an end. 33 innings, and the Paw Sox won by a final score of 3-2. This game truly had it all. There were Hall of Famers on each side, with Hall of Famer Wade Boggs on the Red Sox and Cal Ripken Jr. on the Red Wings, prior to him getting his Major League call-up and setting the record for most consecutive Major League Baseball games started. There was a record set that is so outrageous that it will never come close to being broken, and it comes with so much storytelling within itself. Players burning bats and benches for warmth, players fighting with their families who didn't believe that the game hadn't ended already, and the police having to check and make sure that there weren't a number of people missing in Pawtucket that night. They weren't missing. They were just at McCoy. Only so much can be verified, and with every year that passes, the game enters further into the realm of myth over history. But that is what makes baseball so magical. Perhaps the most perfect aspect of the game was discovered later, when the league rules were investigated to see how such a long game could have taken place. The league had a rule that did not permit teams to play after 12:50 a.m., but due to disputes between different cities about curfews, this rule was not listed in the rulebook carried by head umpire Dennis Craig. The game was never supposed to happen in the first place. It was supposed to be called early, but the most unlikely of scenarios kept it going and allowed for everything that followed to occur. The game carried over for over 3 hours longer than what was permitted and allowed the world to receive one of the greatest sporting gifts that we have ever gotten.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
Members from both teams celebrated the 25th anniversary of the game on June 23, 2006, in Pawtucket, reliving the days when they made history together and became immortalized in baseball folklore. McCoy received its heroes of the past and looked on to the future. The ballpark, like the players it hosted, was forever a part of baseball history. In August of 2018, the owners of the Paw Sox announced that the team would be moving to Worcester, closer to their old home of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Rumblings had been making their way around for some time, but when the news broke, it didn't come as any less of a shock. Generations of fans had grown up watching the Paw Sox, and now they only had a couple more years to enjoy the team that they loved. The 2020 season was slated to be the final one in the Pawtucket chapter of the Red Sox history. But when the COVID-19 pandemic struck, the Paw Sox were unceremoniously finished with their time without any real goodbye. And as the world began to reopen and fill with people, McCoy Stadium remained dormant, yearning for its glory days, waiting for the return of a team that was never coming back. The very last Paw Sox game at McCoy was on September 2nd, 2019, where they won in extra innings one last time. In January of 2024, the city of Pawtucket announced that the stadium was going to be demolished, replaced by a high school. 84 years after Mayor McCoy laid the cornerstone of his stadium, his own city's government voted to demolish it. McCoy Stadium has been much more than the site of baseball's longest game. Its unique quirks, like the first row of the stands being raised up so high, expansive foul territory, and picnic dining seats all lend themselves to its charm. For 50 years, the Paw Sox used McCoy Stadium to bring joy, community, and baseball to an area that embraced it all so much. I received my first ever game ball at a Paw Sox game, sitting from just about here, and watched Baseball Hall of Famer David Ortiz blast a home run over the clock in right field during a rehab stint. My memories, along with countless others who shared an afternoon or night at the ballpark in Pawtucket, will live on, forever intertwined with the mythology, legend, and folklore that resonate from the walls of McCoy Stadium. McCoy Stadium, at the end of the day, is a former minor league ballpark that has been laying dormant for years. But to those who have been there, those who have studied or simply loved the game of baseball, it is so much more. McCoy Stadium is a relic of a time gone by, where a level of mysticism and wonder still clouded parts of the game, and left viewers of all ages and backgrounds in awe of the product on the field. McCoy Stadium was, is, and forever will be everything that makes baseball the most magical game on earth. It will be dearly missed, but its spirit and legacy will live on forever. We'll always have Pawtucket.